In today's video, I'm going to show you 7 signs that you're actually ready to retire. And after working with hundreds of people in their 50s and 60s, I found that the biggest challenge isn't hitting a specific number, but knowing when it's safe to make the decision. And what I found is that most people don't retire as soon as they can, but they wait until they finally feel comfortable. And those two things are often years apart. And I've seen that this hesitation usually isn't about being unprepared, it's about uncertainty, which causes people to delay retirement longer than they actually need to. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through 7 clear signs that you're ready to retire now, even if your numbers don't look perfect to you on paper. Because once you understand what to look for, the decision to retire becomes a lot more clear. But first, I'm Justin Haywood. I'm a certified financial planner, and I've helped hundreds of people retire with confidence. And this channel is dedicated to helping you do the same. The first sign that you're actually ready to retire is that you understand how your expenses will evolve throughout retirement. And most traditional financial planning assumes that your spending is going to rise linearly every year until you die. Financial software often assumes that you're going to need 80% of your pre-retirement income adjusted for a 3% inflation rate over a 30-year period. On paper, this creates a neat, predictable model, but real life isn't linear, and neither is human behavior. Real life and real retirement happens in 3 distinct stages. You've got your go-go years. These are your most active years of retirement. Then you've got your slow-go years where you've slowed down a bit. And then you've got your no-go years where you're not really traveling. You're just to and from the grocery store, to and from the doctor's office. I have a client named Rebecca who retired at 62. And during her first few years of retirement, she traveled a lot. But by 72, her discretionary spending had dropped by about 25% as her travel frequency naturally waned. This is what happens with most people. And once you realize that your required income is actually a sliding scale that naturally decreases over time, you'll realize that your current nest egg is much more powerful than some static calculator might suggest. You're not funding a 40-year sprint. You're funding a transition that becomes gradually less demanding over time. The second sign is that your ghost expenses have successfully vanished. For decades, you've been paying a work tax that you likely haven't even categorized because it just felt normal. These are the invisible costs tied to maintaining a professional identity and sustaining a demanding routine. But when you retire, these expenses don't just decrease, they disappear entirely for the most part. Think about things like your commute, gas, tolls, vehicle wear and tear, things like your professional wardrobe, dry cleaning, the convenience tax of buying takeout because you were too exhausted to cook after a 10-hour day. And more importantly, there's a psychological layer to these expenses. When you're working, there's often an unspoken pressure to signal success, like driving a certain type of car, living in a certain neighborhood, or maintaining a certain lifestyle that aligns with your professional identity. But when you step away from work, that pressure often evaporates. You begin to make decisions on a personal satisfaction level as opposed to perception. And if you've reached the point where your lifestyle is fueled by genuine interest rather than professional obligation, your true cost of living is likely thousands of dollars lower than your current salary suggests. The third sign that you're ready to retire is that your fixed monthly costs represent a minority stake in your budget. One of the biggest fears of retirement is something called sequence of returns risk. This is the danger of a market crash that happens right when you retire and you start taking withdrawals. This risk becomes serious only when your fixed, non-negotiable expenses like housing, taxes, insurance, groceries take up most of your income. In that case, you're forced to withdraw money regardless of market conditions, even if it means selling investments at a loss. But if your mortgage is paid off or your essential expenses make up less than half of your income, the situation changes because you now have what's called discretionary flexibility. It means that if the market dips, you're not stuck. You can adjust. You can cut back on these non-essential expenses. You can delay big purchases, or you can scale down temporarily without affecting your basic lifestyle. And this flexibility acts as a buffer against market volatility, and it gives you control over when and how you withdraw from your portfolio. And if you can maintain your core needs during downturns, you're going to be financially positioned to withstand this market uncertainty. The fourth sign that you're ready to retire is that you've mentalized your healthcare. Healthcare is the number one fear for retirees before age 65, and for good reason. It's a complex and confusing system, and it feels unpredictable and expensive. And that uncertainty alone usually keeps people in their jobs that they no longer enjoy just because of the security of their employer-sponsored medical insurance. But being ready for retirement means transforming that uncertainty into clarity. It's the shift from thinking this could ruin me to understanding this is a cost that I've planned for. It doesn't mean that healthcare suddenly becomes cheap or insignificant. It just becomes defined. Whether you've researched the options on the insurance marketplace, explored retiree coverage, or set aside a dedicated fund to bridge the gap until Medicare eligibility, the key is just having awareness. And once you break this down into your monthly premiums, your deductibles, your out-of-pocket expenses, it stops being some vague, overwhelming fear and becomes a line item in your budget. And that shift alone is powerful. The unknown tends to grow in our minds, often far beyond reality. But once you quantify it, you take back control. And I've had many clients postpone retirement for years just because of the uncertainty around their medical expenses. But once we quantified them and factored them into their long-term plan, it made them feel much more comfortable with their decision to hang it up. And the fifth sign that you're ready to retire is that your essential expenses are already covered by guaranteed income sources. Now, there's a lot of noise around Social Security, whether it will be there in the future, whether you should rely on it, but for most people, it remains one of the most stable income sources they have. It's essentially an inflation-adjusted paycheck for life. And when you actually run the numbers, something surprising happens. You might realize that your Social Security alone, or Social Security combined with pensions or other fixed income sources, can cover most, if not all, of your basic living expenses. And when that happens, your investment portfolio isn't responsible for keeping you alive. It's just there to support your lifestyle. And that's a big shift because instead of worrying about whether the market can sustain you, you're using it to enhance your life, like travel, hobbies, and other experiences. It also takes a lot of pressure off of your decisions. You're not forced to sell during a downturn just to pay the bills. You have flexibility. And that flexibility is what makes retirement sustainable. If your baseline lifestyle is already funded by guaranteed income, you're in a much stronger position than you probably think. The sixth sign is that you've developed what I call investor ice. In simple terms, this is just behavioral discipline when it comes to investing. The ability to remain calm and rational when the markets fluctuate, because retirement requires a major shift in mindset. For decades, you've been conditioned to save, accumulate, and measure progress by a rising account balance. A decline, even a temporary one, can feel like a failure, but retirement changes that dynamic completely. The money you've spent your life building is now meant to be used, not just accumulated. And if you understand this transition and can emotionally handle it, you've achieved something more important than hitting a perfect number. If you can watch your portfolio dip without panicking because you understand that markets move in cycles, you have the temperament required for retirement. And this is where experience comes into play. If you've lived through downturns and you've seen recoveries, you're less likely to react emotionally. You begin to trust the process instead of fearing it. If you've stopped checking your balances daily and have embraced a steady, long-term approach, you've probably developed the discipline that it takes to protect your retirement plan. And the math of retirement only works if your behavior supports it. If you panic sell at every market downturn, your retirement savings are going to suffer as a result. And without emotional control, even a strong plan can fail. But with it, even a modest one can succeed. The seventh and final sign is that your identity has already moved out of the office. This is the most important sign, and it has nothing to do with money. Financial readiness is only one part of the equation. Emotional readiness is just as critical. Many people tie their identity, their routine, and their sense of purpose entirely to their careers. When that disappears, it can leave a gap that no amount of savings can fill. But if you've already begun building a life outside of work, retirement becomes a continuation rather than a loss. If you have hobbies that engage you, relationships that support you, and routines that give your days structure, you're not stepping into emptiness. You're stepping into something familiar, just with more freedom. You're ready to retire when you feel more drawn to your own time than to your professional obligations. And when your sense of fulfillment comes from how you live your day, not from how you earn your income, the transition becomes natural. And at that point, numbers matter a lot less because you're already living the life that you are planning to retire into. So retirement isn't just an escape from something. It must move you towards something. If you've accepted that your spending will naturally decline, that your work-related costs are gone, and that you have the behavioral discipline to stay the course, the magic number becomes much smaller. The spreadsheets will never tell you that you're safe. Only your mindset can do that. And if these signs resonate with you, the fear of the numbers is just a ghost. So stop waiting for that perfect number that doesn't exist and start realizing that your life is already better than the data suggests. You are ready to pull the trigger. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel to see more content like this. And if you're looking for something else to watch about retirement, I've recorded this video right here that you can enjoy next.